I have been on a little bit of a vacation, but I'm going to go over the numbers from this winter's logging. I don't have all the numbers included here, but overall the machine has performed very well with all the measurements. If you can see here, I've listed the timber for the pine. It's almost dead on compared to what was measured. For the spruce, there is a bigger difference, but most of that is mainly because I had to move over some of the logs that turned out to be rotten, or I found some damage to them that was bad enough that I wanted to send it to pulp. So if you look at the numbers, 5% the minus on the timber, but the pulp is making up for it. And for the total volume, I haven't included some of the small size timber and also the birch pulp, but overall it seems to be within 1%, and that's really good. Down here I'm flying the drone over a small corner where I actually had an entrepreneur thin this corner out a tiny bit this winter because they were doing another job on my neighbor's property just south of this corner that is pretty much impossible to access, because if you look at the map here, there is a marshland between this corner and the rest of the property, and I doubt I will ever try to bring any of my machines across this. I think I would want something with tracks on them rather than wheels, and a small lightweight machine if I should ever bring anything across here, because I think it's a deep marshland where machines might disappear. So the machines performed well. I'm happy with this winter's logging. Time to start looking at preparing for the summer. Test ran the heater in the cabin on wheels. Here you can see the pit from where we had sand excavated to fill up the roads and make them a little better, as could be seen in a previous video. My dad had put out the traps while I was gone. It had started heating up a tiny bit, but then it got really cold again, and most of May has been quite cold with a little bits of snow here and there, even in late May. So I think that's good. The beetles so far are so few you can almost count them. So it might have been a little too early to put the traps out, but I think it's good to catch the first few making it out also. And it's the same all the way around. It's hardly anything in them so far. I guess there will be more later on. Had a little trouble that a couple of these rectangular traps, the catch tray had slid out. I'm wondering why that's happening. It had been some wind, but I've started jamming a little piece of little tiny branch in there to make sure it doesn't slide out. Here I'm messing around with a tiny little stick to shove in there to make sure that the catch tray stays where it's supposed to be. And it was the same all the way around. A couple of them here and there, but very, very few. But I see more of the beetles, I hope, are enemies against the bark beetles. So hopefully it's dying down on me, the small outbreak I've had the last few years. And this trap didn't have a single bark beetle that I could find. But something is eating on some of the plants that were put down not long ago, mainly on the pine. The spruce seems unaffected. I suspect are forest birds, the capercaillie or the grouse. They are running around on the ground and eating the fresh sprouts off the pine. So that's annoying, but hopefully they will outgrow the damage they suffer now when they are young, as long as they survive this, because a lot of them have been eaten at the top. Here you can see a spruce, that one is unaffected, has not been eaten, but the next pine, someone has eaten the top away. I hope this, because this area here is, I think, mainly pine with a few spruce here and there, and towards the edges where it's more wetland, more moisture. So we'll see how that goes. I might have to do some extra checkup on these in the future. I did find a few that they seem to have missed. This one has a fresh little bud at the top from this year's growth, but the majority of them have been eaten by something. The trap over here I moved a little bit. It didn't have hardly any in there, but I felt I wanted it in a little bit of a different location compared to where my dad had put it. No big deal. And here is the trap that's furthest away from the house, at the far end of the property that contains any spruce. There is a little more property further north, but that's mainly pine and shouldn't be affected by the bark beetle whatsoever. This one has not really caught anything in the last few years, but I still like to keep it there. It catches a couple, but it hasn't been much in it the last few years. So, but who knows? They might migrate further north all of a sudden. So I mainly use the traps as a way to see where I should focus on checking if I have affected trees. I don't have enough traps to like stop any outbreak, but it gives me a little peace of mind to keep checking on it and see how it goes at least. Hopefully it's dying down and goes down now. And here we have the section of road where we put the most focus on bringing sand out and smoothing this area out, because it has had some quite deep holes in it over the years. It's been sinking down when this I wouldn't call it road, but a trail was made. We just overturned the stumps and they were hidden underneath the track itself. So as they rot away, it has created quite a few holes and divots and so on. That's been quite annoying over the years, and with some sand here it's possible to smooth it out, and it's a quite flat area, and here sand helps out a lot. Where you have downhills and uphills, sand tends to quite easily wash away, so I will need to invest in some good gravel in the near future to maintain the roads on the property. And gravel is quite expensive, but more on that later. This turned out good so far. We'll need to spend some more time grading this area. I just have a cheap blade behind the tractor and the wheel loader that can help out, but it should be a good improvement once the sand settles down. Another downside with the sand is that it can be quite dusty in areas when it's really dry. But just having the cost of excavating it and bringing it out with my own machines, I still feel like it's worth it compared to buying a lot of material that costs quite a bit of money for each ton of produce when you look at good quality gravel. And these roads don't really have any traffic except in the winter time. That's the only time they see any heavy loads. When we made it back to the cabin, the diesel heater had stopped because we had installed the sensor, so it stops at a certain temperature, and it was nice and hot inside, so that's good. that I don't have to mess with the diesel heater. And last trap for this video is the same as the other, just a handful, 4 or 5 of them, hardly anything. We'll finish this video with us putting the snowmobiles. There are 2 of them now because the rear one doesn't have a track anymore because that broke, and I ended up sourcing a spare parts machine for not a whole lot of money. It turns out it does not have the same track as the other one had, so I might need to move drive shafts around, or I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do, but I'm delaying that problem until it's autumn and winter again. I will think about it until I need them again. For now they will just sit under a roof during the summer and not be used anyway, so that's a problem for the future. I hope everyone is having an amazing spring and that you're having a great time. That's it for the update now. I've done some wrenching both before I left that I've covered in videos, but have not found time to do anything with it. And I've been doing some wrenching since I got back. I've also started trying to get out and run a few tanks through the brush cutter, and there is plenty of work to do. More on that later.